Hi friends, good morning. Today we are going to be reviewing watercolor painting. Now I don't expect you guys to have watercolor palettes at your house. That is completely okay. I am fine if you just watch this video, or if you want to follow along with regular paints, that's fine too. I just wanted to do a quick review of watercolor since that's something that we used to do a lot at school, and I just want to make sure that you keep it fresh in your mind for when I see you guys again. So the materials I'm going to be using today is my watercolor palettes, a cup of water, my brush, and my piece of paper. So when you do watercolors, you always want to make sure that you have about 50-50 paint to water. As you remember, our watercolors are very solid. They are not activated until you add water to them. And while we were practicing this at school, I always used to tell you guys, remember, you don't want to drown the paint. You want to still see the paint on your paper. You don't want it to look super watery. So I'm going to take my brush and I'm going to dip it in the water. I'm going to put it in a color on my palette and I'm going to swirl it around. As you can see, it is starting to get wet, but it is not drowning the paint. Now I have some color on my brush. And when I paint with it, you can still see the color. If you use too much water, what ends up happening is you don't see the color as much. You see more water than you do color. So you always want to make sure you have a good amount of color. Now I'm going to do that again with a different color this time. Now when your paint palette starts to get a little bit empty, as you can see, a lot of my paints are empty, but there is still some red in this one. You want to use a bit more water than you're used to, but I didn't dip my brush in my water and drown the paint. I just put it on the brush and swirled it around in the paint palette. So now I have some red on my brush. I'm actually going to tap some of the water off of it so that when I paint, I can clearly see the color, just like so. In between using your paints, you always want to clean your brush off in your water. I find it helps if you tap it all the way in the bottom and swirl it around there really good so it's wet. Tap it on the side of your cup so that you can get some of the water out. It does help to have a paper towel near you as well. That way if you feel your brush is super wet, you can just tap it on the towel and it'll get a lot of that extra water off of it. Now I'm going to do one more color here. This time I'm going to do a dark color. And I'm going to swirl really good for my dark color because I want to make sure my paintbrush really soaks up that color. So now you can see almost my whole paintbrush is purple. I'm going to tap it against my paper towel to get some of that water off because I don't want all that water. And I'm going to brush it nicely on my paper. And now I have a nice purple color. As you can see, this one got a little streaky, and that's because I had way too much water on my brush still. I could have taken some of that water out. Brush it again. And now I have a much more even coat of paint on my paper. Again, after you're all done with one color, before using another, always clean off your paintbrush. Either put it in the water or spray it off or take it to the sink and clean it. But you always want to make sure you're using a clean but wet brush when you're doing watercolors. Now the last color I'm going to show you today is a mixture of colors because I want you to see what it's like when you mix all the colors together. Now a lot of you in school always want to mix the colors all together, but then you get really frustrated when there's no color on the paper. It just turns brown. And that's why it's so important to make sure you super clean your brush before you move on to the next color. So say I do my purple, and then I put it in my orange, and then I put it in my red. Now, I don't think that's going to make rainbow. I'm pretty sure that's just going to make a mushy color. See, it makes brown. And if you keep mixing all the colors without cleaning the brush properly, everything you do is going to be brown instead of having those beautiful colors on the paper. And one color that always darkens all colors is, of course, black. It's very dark. Again, I made sure that I had tons of paint and not so much water. But as you can see, I kept all of my colors separated. All together, they just turned into a murky brown. So always make sure you're cleaning your brushes in between your watercolors. Thank you for watching today. I hope you guys are staying safe at home, and I can't wait to see what you guys come up with. If you do get to practice watercolor at home, please make sure you post your pictures so that I can see them. And I look forward to seeing you guys hopefully in the future. Bye for now.